Hi everyone, my name is Sinead and I lead the SMB and mid-market customer business for LinkedIn Sales Solutions EMEA, and I am delighted to be here today. And this panel couldn't come at a more opportune time. We know that the leap to digital selling has created endless possibilities, but we're still learning. In recent LinkedIn studies, we found that some sales reps are getting it right and they're blowing their numbers, but we know that undoubtedly some sales reps are getting it wrong, and 68% of salespeople or sales teams are not hitting plan at the moment. At the same time, we're being presented with huge amounts of data, and that opens up endless possibilities for us, and so are our buyers. But we need to understand how to use that data in the right way at the right time, and what does that mean for us as salespeople, and how do we add value? So we're going to cover those questions and a few other crucial topics today. But first of all, I'm going to hand over to our panel and ask them to introduce themselves. And I'll start with Melvina.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melvina, and I'm the Director of Sales Enablement at ReachDesk, which is a gifting and direct mail provider. Talk about human interaction, human moments, and making those human connections. What better way to do that than with gifting? But prior to joining ReachDesk, I actually spent 10.5 years in the financial services industry, doing every single possible role under the sun before deciding that enablement was my calling. And I'm super excited to be here today, so thank you so much.
Let's see if I can remember to coordinate all these mics. My name is Victoria Brebner. I'm absolutely delighted to be in the room with you all today. I have, until very, very recently, been in a head of sales operations in the B2B division of a company called EF Education First, possibly the largest company you've never heard of, as our head of people says. In the B2B division, we are Hult EF Corporate Education, and our salespeople around the world sell to large organizations and help them upskill and reskill their staff.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex Lowe. I'm a managing consultant within PA Consulting, and I'm leading a 1,000-seat deploy of Microsoft Dynamics and Sales Navigator. This is my third tour of duty, having done it previously in a commercial property firm and a law firm. So glad to be here.
Right, so we've heard that the world of B2B selling has fundamentally changed, but so has the world of work. We've got lots of sales teams who are fully back in the office. We've got some who are fully remote, and lots of companies are doing a mixture of the both. So Alex, what is the current workplace policy where you work?
So it's above my pay grade, but fundamentally how we're being directed is actually we're driven by the client, because a lot of our consultants certainly pre-COVID would be on site with the client and working with clients. So we're a blend of kind of on site with the client, subject to the client's policies, in office and hybrid. But typically we take a client driven first approach.
Victoria?
So we've got a reasonably clear 3 days in the office policy and 2 days from home. Those can be any 3 days, so it's pretty flexible, but there's a real focus on bringing teams together. So the most important thing is that you make sure that team leaders bring their teams together at least once a week, if possible.
Okay, and with you, Melvina?
All right, so we have a fully flexible policy. You can either work from home or work in the office. The way that I like to look at it is I will go to the office when we really have to get together and do something in person. Otherwise, if I really need, to work on a project or get things done, I am just more productive at home. I'm not going to lie. But each to their own, we are fully flexible.
Okay. So then, just tied to that a little bit, in a recent LinkedIn study, we found that 50% of buyers say that buying remotely is actually easier, yet only 11% say it's more difficult. So how has that impacted your workplace policy? And Victoria, I'll start with you. Or how you sell remotely, rather than your workplace policy.
So we were already a very global sales organization. So I think we were in the lucky place that everyone in our organization was very well positioned to flip to virtual. So we did so pretty much overnight. Having said that, I think it's been a learning curve for everyone. And I think everyone's just had to upskill dramatically and be not just good face-to-face, but good virtual, and learn what good virtual means. probably, if I think about it, fewer chances to really make a difference, really create a strong relationship and have impact. So we need to make those count. So building the relationship has become more important than ever, and it's hard to do virtually. Potentially I've heard our salespeople spending, and I know I spend more time building the relationship and speaking about personal things potentially as a percentage of the conversation.
Malvina.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, because while many people say that it is more difficult to build those relationships and build that genuine connection with someone, it's actually so much easier to jump on a 20-minute call, right? 15-minute catch-up, book the next 30 minutes, book a meeting from a meeting, which we're super passionate about, right? Making sure we get those next steps in. I actually think it was a lot more difficult to do when we were in a fully in-office type workplace. Now being remote, again, booking those next steps and having that next touch point with your prospect or customer, in our eyes, has become easier. But again, the challenges of building that meaningful connection, making sure you're coming across genuine, right? On Zoom, a person only sees you from the waist up. That has its challenges. But I think everyone, at least at Reach Desk, we've really, adapted and changed.
And for you, Alex?
I think what's been interesting is when kind of everything opened up, all of our consultants were quick to get on a plane and go and meet our clients kind of face to face. And we're now getting questioned more on, do you need to actually fly to go and meet said organization? And the other aspect is, because of the way our clients operate, not everybody is always in the office. Those face-to-face meetings, kind of reflecting on Stephen's earlier comments, now really need to count. That hour that you're going to have with someone, or 2 hours where they've come into the office, it can't just be let's have a general catch up and we'll move on with life. Those have got to really, really count. And if they don't, and you're not bringing value to that face-to-face interaction, you're less likely to maybe get that next face-to-face interaction because you're not bringing that value and insight. But we are being more cautious around just getting on an airplane or having that face-to-face meeting, maybe like it was before the pandemic.
Okay. So we know that sales technology has been a real driving force for how we are changing B2B selling. So much so that Gartner estimate that, and I think Stephen mentioned it earlier, that most sales teams have about 13 tools in their sales tech stack. So it's great to see companies investing in sales technology, but is it the right tech, right? So Malvina, the most successful sales tech stacks, can't say that word, can streamline all of your processes and help your teams increase their efficiency. So what's most important to you when you're considering your sales tech stack? And what works in Reach Desk?
So no one likes to have half-eaten pizzas, right? But it's very easy for tech to become that half-eaten pizza. You use it a little bit, maybe you don't use it to its fullest capability and to the fullest advantage. From an enablement perspective, and there's a running joke out there that enablement constantly brings on new tools, right? And it's yet another tool that we have to learn. And salespeople say, great, like what's next? What are you bringing on now? The way that I actually look at tools and the tech stack today is, number one, everything has to be integrated. Things have to talk to each other. I don't want any data in silos. I don't want you having to constantly jump out from one tool, go to the next, exit that one, copy your notes over manually to another tool. I think having that tech stack fully integrated for me is key. And making sure that any kind of tech stack that we have currently, one, we're utilizing to its fullest capability. And if we're not, I need to understand why, right? And then the question for me is, do we keep it? Do we change it? Do we get rid of it? What's next? But before I bring on anything new, I need to do that full audit, really understand, are the systems talking to each other? Are sales individuals using the tools in the way that they were designed to be used? And you would be surprised. I often have catch-ups with our sales team, and I'm like, walk me through how you do this in this tool. Sometimes I'm horrified. right? It's not being used in the way that I thought it was meant, they were meant to use it. So really having that full understanding for me is key.
So Victoria, I'd love to hear your point of view as a sales and sales ops leader. How do you think about it?
So the first thing that comes to mind is less is more. So 13 horrifies me. And I don't think we've gotten anywhere near to that. But I mean, we're probably edging in that direction, definitely. I think we've sort of taken a step back. We got really excited and started looking for the new next shiny thing that might help us reach our objectives. But then realized that there's no point if it's not being adopted, it's not really being used, right? So, and it creates more confusion and potentially it's value destroying. So we took a step back and have been much more cautious about thinking through our tech stack and really thinking through the entire journey from a salesperson and a client's perspective, but from a salesperson's perspective to see, to your point, are there all the integrations working? What exactly is the ideal journey for a salesperson, for a lead, for a contact, for an account, etc., and for an opportunity, of course. And so that's one thing. Less is more. The other really, really important learning for me and my team on sales ops is that adoption obviously is absolutely key. And so in the actual buying process, you're already starting thinking about the implementation by involving many stakeholders from sales leadership and sales even themselves that are going to buy in upfront. So this isn't just another tool that gets thrown at them that they can blame for, whatever they don't reach or whatever doesn't happen. So that's the other big learning for me.
Right. So Alex, having a powerful tech stack is so important to build a really strong sales team and drive performance. How do you work to ensure that the sellers are reaching out to the right people at the right time?
So sort of build on that, on those conversations, if I may. Absolutely Malvina in terms of half-eaten pizzas. There's a brilliant individual called Justin Michael out on LinkedIn. He's actually a former alum of LinkedIn Sales Solutions, and he talks about your TQ, your technology quotient, and are you actually getting the maximum you can out of your current systems? And we spent a good day with Microsoft a couple of weeks ago beating them up in terms of we don't know what we don't know. We're paying you what we're paying you in terms of our licensing. You understand what our business challenges are. Help us understand how we can get the best out of your tech stack. But more importantly, what else do you have in the toolkit that could help us achieve what we're trying to achieve? And we came out astounded going, we're not even scratching the surface and we're already paying for half of this in the licensing that we've already got. We don't get that with LinkedIn Sales Solutions, by the way. So the TQ is really, really important. The integration piece, absolutely, but sometimes it's just too hard to do. So from a data perspective, our tech stack is Microsoft Dynamics synced with Sales Navigator, Marketo, Outlook, and Power BI. So we're now surfacing everything up into Power BI dashboards from a data perspective. It's coming from HR systems, finance systems, LinkedIn data, CRM data, marketing data, et cetera. And then we are surfacing those dashboards to client leads, and they are getting the data that's relevant for them to help them make the next best decision in the sales cycle. And our sales cycles can be anything from 3 months to 2 years, from £500,000 to $10 million. And so seeing 13, Stephen, as the average, we have way more sometimes in terms of stakeholders involved in those decisions and the great reshuffle in terms of people moving. So how we are positioning it internally, this is about using data and insight to have the right conversation with the right person at the right time. However, there has to be a massive behavioral mindset shift in that. And the people that are using, the teams that we have empowered with full access to CRM and Sales Nav are managing consultants, which is director level equivalent. So they've been 15 years probably in role, and then partners who could have been 15 to 25 years in role. So you're having to rewire a mindset of their perception of selling, of how they did things a millennia ago for some people. And that also then means that you may need to change your processes to enable the technology to do what the technology is meant to be doing, not people MacGyvering it because they're trying to force a sales process which is being put upon them by sales leaders because that's what we did, and therefore you're not maximising the use out of the technology and the data.
Big challenge. Right, so deep sales is all about building deeper customer relationships. And we know that our buyers are looking for trusted advisors. And that can be difficult in the current environment because to be a trusted advisor, we're working with buyers who are often changing roles, or our salespeople are often changing roles. So employee turnover can be a big barrier to becoming that trusted advisor. And we've got some questions around that. The first one's for Alex. I'm going to read it because there's some stats in it. 87% of buyers say they're more likely to consider a purchase or service if the seller has challenged their way of thinking. Is this something that you build into your sales strategy, or if you don't, is it something that you're thinking of doing?
So just to build on the reshuffle, I told you I'd go rogue, so I make no apologies for this. So on the great reshuffle, again, for probably larger size deals, I would suggest LinkedIn Sales Navigator is one of the most powerful tools to help you do this. The home page of a company, so you go LinkedIn, so you're on the home feed, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and you have a little filter called New Decision Makers. It's been an absolute game changer for us to check that once a month at an account level. We have a very defined account base and account strategy that we're approaching, going, oh my goodness, there's a new CTO, new CRO, new head of this, new head of that. Rather than us finding out about that 6 months, 12 months after the event and we've missed an opportunity, we now are able to get ahead of that conversation and then you use Team Link or whatever routes to find that routes to conversation. But back to the question, fundamentally that's what organisations pay us to do, is go in and challenge their way of thinking and challenge their way to do things differently. So that is baked into the DNA of us as an organisation. What we have to do is then how do we bring our secret sauce that makes us different from every other strategy house out there who fundamentally are saying more or less the same things. And for me, this is then how we use deep sales and deep insights to shortcut and find that shortest route to a business conversation. So if we can get ahead of those conversations and start to help shape that narrative and shape that perception of what PA and our amazing people bring to the table, even 3 months or a month before some of our competitors, we're going to be ahead of the game.
Great. So I'm going to get to 3 final questions, which are actually ones that I put in because these are the ones I really wanted to know the answer to. But I'm going to ask all 3 of you, what is the secret sauce that make your sales team successful? Is it things like mindset? Is it technology? Is it enablement? Is it their skills? Is it the people that you hire? So I'm going to start with Malvina.
Yeah, so great question. People, technology, mindset, and process are all extremely important. But where it starts for us, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you here, is actually with mindset, right? Things have changed so quickly. We've obviously all lived through the pandemic. 2022 is quite uncertain. We hear 2023 will also be uncertain. It all starts with having the right mindset, being open to change. And for sellers, from enablement's perspective, old habits die hard, right? A lot of sellers, it takes a lot to get them to adapt a new process, adapt a different technology, look at things in a slightly different light. But if you're open to change, you have the right mindset, you're not constantly thinking this is a tough year. Last quarter sucked, this quarter is going to be awful, right? If you are really truly forward looking, then I think really the world is your oyster. But it all starts in the mind.
And knowing that it's possible, and resilience.
Yeah.
Victoria.
I mean, I completely agree with Malvina in terms of the mindset. I think, we first and foremost try to recruit people with that right mindset that are also, as I'm sure everyone in this room tries as well, that are likable, empathetic, and really good at creating those relationships, which are more important than ever, as we've seen. The thing that I would add to that is our best sales people really, through their likability, empathy, and great sales skills, are able to uncover the real needs of our clients in order to bring them those insights where they need them, when they need them. And so actually, you know, the secret sauce, if you can get that data, those insights to the client, that's really going to make a difference. For example, in our business, we're able to provide data at to a leader at a country level, at a team level, of what's going on in their business. So we're often bringing them insights and telling them things about their business that they didn't know. And that really, if you can do that well, obviously bearing in mind you're building the relationship and everything, that's really going to make a difference.
And Alex?
I mean, what do I add to that? Again, from our worlds, we don't have salespeople. So we don't have SDRs, we don't have AEs, and in some cases, you know, we hire biomechanics, we hire chemical engineers, we hire vaccine specialists who are then expected to go out and sell. So we have to help them shift that mindset. This isn't actually selling per se. It's about starting a business conversation with somebody, which we then turn into a business opportunity, and then you go into the sales process. But I think the biggest shift that I'm witnessing more broadly in the narrative within sales and marketing is actually we've got to start doing things differently. And there's a brilliant piece authored by Brent Adamson, who is the co-author of Challenger Sale. I'm sure you're all familiar with Challenger Sale. It was in Harvard Business Review February of this year, when he said, are sales and marketing becoming obsolete? And the view was, for the most part, yes, it is, because we're just bored of this same old narrative and not talking to each other. And then he gave this example of a Canadian company called Smart Technologies. At the start of the pandemic, the sales and marketing leader went to the chief exec and said, we're going to do things differently. And the chief exec said, I don't believe this is going to work, but if you trust yourselves to do this, and the narrative is the sales leader and the marketing leader trusted each other implicitly to get this right, and they built what they call the Unified Commercial Engine, the UCE. So there isn't a sales or marketing function per se. Everybody knows exactly what their role is in the life cycle of a buying journey and accepts that it can do this, and there's no kind of handover and flipping things over. The narrative was rewritten. That meant they had to let some people go because they couldn't reskill them for the skills of the new world order, and some people could be reskilled. So from my perspective, it's everything that my esteemed colleagues here have said, but I believe that we as leaders need to start being brave and start doing things differently. If everything that we hear today is true in terms of what our buyers are saying, and what Stephen said with the quote from Einstein, we've got to stop doing more and more and more of the same. Otherwise, we're going to be here in 12, 18 months' time, either out of jobs or having the same conversation.
So kind of linked to that, and maybe you've already answered it already, but if there was one change that you could make with the sales teams that you're working on and you were the ultimate decision maker, what was going to happen, what would you do?
Am I going first or last on this? I'm going first. I was last in the talk deck, that's fine. Brilliant, so I can get my ideas in. Genuinely, I feel that reward is one of the biggest problems in this, and this quarter-on-quarter mentality, because you're driving short-termism. And until we stop driving that short-termism, I don't believe we're going to truly change the behaviours that need to change in order to be able to achieve that everything's been discussed today. Another brilliant chap called Marcus Kauke out in the market, he described himself as a belligerent sales leader. He certainly calls it as he sees it. I remember talking to him a while back, and his view was that sellers should be handsomely rewarded on year 3 contract renewal, not year 1 contract sign and then disappear off into the sunset. So for me, if we're going to take this seriously, and I appreciate this is hard, it's very glib to say let's change reward, but I think if we can look at reward structures and shift that short-term view, then we might start to be able to see some genuine changes in what we're trying to achieve here.
Thank you. And Victoria, what would you do if you were the ultimate decision maker?
I'm going to be greedy and ask for 2, if I can make 2 changes. So one, we're constantly asking our sales teams and wanting our sales teams to use the tech that they've got more. And the more they use it, the more data we get in order to make better decisions in the future. So it's absolutely key. If I had a magic wand, I would wave it and make sure that everybody uses the tech such that it's designed to And of course, it's our job to make sure that we design it such that they need to use it and want to use it. But so that would be one. And the other one is a mindset shift, maybe. I think our best sellers already do this, but really having our sales teams see themselves as partners to their clients on an equal terms basis, where they are actually just looking at where they can really help and add value. And I know we all know this and say it, but it's one thing to, train people on it, and it's another to actually have your salespeople believe it and really enact it. So really being equals and looking to add value is what I would love to do.
And you see such a big difference in sales teams and their performance, or people, individuals, when they believe that. So I think that could really work. Malvina, for you.
I'm now going as the third person.
Yes.
Okay. I think from an enablement perspective, one, it's making sure that everyone uses the tech you're bringing on, right? And I know I sound a little bit like a broken record saying that, but genuinely, even with things like LinkedIn, right? Looking at LinkedIn Insights, looking at the information you get on an account, looking at those job changes, who's moving jobs, where is your champion now, understanding where potentially the decision makers have moved. That information is all there. I don't know if everyone uses it actively every single day and relies on it. And that's where I want to get to, because ultimately every single tool, I'm not even talking about the bells and whistles, but every single tool was created with a purpose in mind. I truly believe that you can get a lot of good out of it, but you have to use it. You have to use it properly. So for me, it's making sure that tool adoption is there. And if it's not there, that's fine, but I want to understand why that's the case. And then again, going back to that mindset, right? Being nimble, being agile, being open to change, being open to learning, being open to having those deep conversations with our customers and prospects, and potentially asking those uncomfortable questions, but getting the answers that are going to take you to that next step.
Can I add one more? Because yes. Victoria's just triggered a thought in my head. When you mentioned it's a partner role between client and seller, I'm starting to see a narrative come out in conversation, probably more so at the enterprise space around alliance sales. So Jay McBain, who leads Canalys, I believe, or Canalys, is talking about we cannot solve all of our clients' problems. But if you partner with another solution provider where you're complementary, then you can start to solve a bigger challenge. And you've got platforms like Crossbeam and PartnerTap, which start to enable this rep to rep in different organizations coming together and working together in partnership to then solve a much bigger business challenge for your clients. But in order for that to happen, you need everything that's been talked about here today: shift in mindset, behavior, actually use the technology that's being used for. So certainly I think the alliance sales conversation and narrative that's starting to I'm seeing coming online is an interesting perspective of where larger deal enterprise sales could go in the next 5 years too. Forgive me.
Oh, great. We've got lots of time. So this is our last question. If I'm going to start with you, Malvina, so you get to go first. If you had to look into a crystal ball and see what sales will look like in 5 years' time or 5 years plus, what do you think it would look like? What would be different? What would be the same?
So Brian Kramer wrote a great book called It's Not B2B, It's Not B2C, It's H to H, human to human. If I look in that crystal ball 5 years from now, I really see us having those human interactions and human conversations, really understanding our prospects and our customers, the industry that they're in, the challenges that they're having. So to Victoria's point, when we are having those conversations, we are on that level playing field because we are able to bring as much insight or that much insight into the conversation as well. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Victoria?
I'd love to know what everyone in this room's answer to this question is, because when I read it, I was like, that's quite something. So yes, they didn't spring this on us, by the way. This one takes a little bit of thinking. So a couple of things that come to mind. One is maybe the future's already here in the sense that it takes, if I look back at how long it's taken us to implement certain solutions, it's taken us several years to really get them working. So the new things that we're looking at on the horizon now are probably what sales are going to look like in 5 years' time. Is that going to be appropriate or not? That's another question. So one thing that I'm definitely seeing as a trend is mobile, being able to really use everything that is in the tech stack, all the sales process, everything that is at our salespeople's fingertips on mobile, because buyers are mobile as well, and you need to be able to buy and sell anytime, anywhere, in a way. So I think really thinking through what does the mobile offering look like, what does that journey look like, and is it fit for purpose, I think is one interesting thing to keep in mind. I think I'll leave it there.
Okay, and final word to you, Alex.
Yay me. Is anybody from Gartner in the room? So Gartner have got some interesting perspective in terms of their future of sales, one of them being machine to machine. And yes, maybe at the lower value, lower risk product set, we may see humans removed completely from that buying process. I think we can't get away from AI and automation. It's coming, whether we like it or not. It's just, where are we automating the right processes, and where are we using AI to solve the right problems and the right questions? I don't think we'll ever get away from the human to human aspect. But if you look at the rise of TikTok, you look at the rise of e-commerce, you look at Gen Z, and I don't like putting labels on people, but we don't know what world they're coming into. We don't know what technology is going to look like in the next 5-10 years. It's accelerating so quickly. So from my perspective, yes, AI automation is going to be part of it, but it's, as everything we've said here today, focus on what you can do now and start to plan as far ahead as you can and work with organizations such as LinkedIn Sales Solutions to help you get on that journey. That was a non-answer, but forgive me.
If we all had crystal balls, we probably would be here if we knew what was going to happen. That's all that we've got time for today. I'd really, really like to thank our panelists for sharing their experiences and insights. I think they did a wonderful job.